Welcome to the party. I'm not here right now, but I want you to listen very carefully. These guys are very funny, so pay attention. Enough talk. It's showtime.
Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve, my co-host is Pete.
Hello.
This episode we are talking about the 1991 film Ricochet, part one of our Denzel Washington trilogy. Because we can't think of a better name.
Denzology. Does that
That's
work?
probably the best one, I think.
Washingtonography.
That could be all of his films.
That's true.
Couldn't it?
That's true.
Washingtonography. I think Denzology is a good thing.
Denzology, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, this film is one I had not seen before.
And I've seen quite a few times. This was a film that I
love.
rented on... I wasn't going to say it quite like that. Time for love, Dr. Jones. I like a lot. I rented it on VHS. For the younger people amongst you, that was on a cassette type format, and then bought.
Go look it up.
Yeah, I bought the X rental copy, so I have owned this film at one time. But I'm gonna, for anyone who hasn't seen it, we will spoil it a lot. We always do. So I would suggest watching it first. But if you decided that this is enough for you, us talking about it is enough, then let me slightly sell it to you, because 1991 this came out, directed by Russell Mulcahy from Highlander, and also Highlander 2. Written by Stephen D'Souza, who did Die Hard. Wrote Die Hard. I think he also wrote Street Fighter. Again, we will cover that off. Music by Alan Silvestri, did Predator.
Yeah.
And produced by Joel Silver, who's produced probably a very high percentage of the films we've covered.
Yes, he's amazing. He's done some fantastic films. Yeah.
So that, in terms of, that's pretty much a dream team there.
Yes.
I think.
Then the cast, you've got Denzel Washington, you've got John Lithgow, you've got Ice-T, you've got Kevin Pollak, Lindsay Wagner, and John Amos, who is in everything as someone's dad. Mostly this, Coming to America, and about 7 other films if I went through his back catalogue.
I love Coming to America. I absolutely
I wish you could do that.
I do too.
Can we just do that as like a Christmas special?
Maybe.
It's got nothing to do with bags. Although it does have a fight scene in with a broom.
That's true.
A mop handle, sorry.
That's true.
So we could... No, we can't. Maybe just as a Christmas special. Although the best Christmas film is still, of course, Die Hard. So...
True.
Anyway, let's get on with talking about the film.
Yes.
Beginning of the film starts with a young cop, Nick Stiles, who's from the street. Yeah!
You don't really know he's a cop, because start off, well, I guess you do if you've looked at the box and read the back of the video case, but if you didn't do that, and he's the star of the film, but if you didn't know any of that, it starts off with, Denzel, Ice-T and Kevin Pollak playing basketball. Now, if I'm picking a basketball team, I'm not picking Kevin Pollak. It doesn't look like a basketball player to me. So he wins some money, and then you find out he's a cop, but he's also he's training to be a lawyer, isn't he? He's doing a law degree.
That's right.
And he's a very slick, smooth man.
Denzel.
Yes, he starts chatting up a girl who's reading Moby Dick. And he tells her he's going to be the first black president. And this bit was set in 1984. So, but he's a cop. Pollak is his partner, but he's studying law as well.
Yes. So we find out that he's young, he's cocky, he's smooth with the ladies, and then it goes to a fairground where they're on patrol in uniform. There's a deal going down between these two people. I think they're going to, a case of money and some drugs when John Lithgow's character, Earl Talbot Blake, decides to crash the deal, essentially. He kills everybody, and he's going to run off with the money, I think. Or was it the drugs?
Yes, that's right. And it's kind of... They're both at the early stages of their career. So Denzel is literally 6 months into being a policeman, and he's about to be thrown into this big situation. And I mean, Earl Talbot Blake, I think is a bit older, but he keeps talking about how him taking over this deal and taking these guys out is going to put him on the criminal map. I don't think he literally says that. I don't know where you can buy a criminal map, but he's
it's like a Hollywood map. But this is where so and so lives. Oh, lovely.
So he's basically done this thing, and then their paths cross.
Yes, because despite all of the noise of the fair, Denzel Washington and his partner hear the gunshots. They come running and basically stop John Lithgow from escaping, but he grabs a hostage. And then we get this really weird scene where Denzel Washington puts his gun down and says, I haven't got a gun. But then he takes his clothes off, essentially to show that he hasn't got any more weapons.
To prove he hasn't got. So he strips
why he
off.
Takes his pants off, I'm not quite sure. And then he's just stood there in his boxer shorts saying... what's the line about his weapon?
The only weapon I got left is useless unless you're a pretty girl.
Yeah. Anyway. So, yes, suitably, Blake is also not impressed with that line because he then goes to shoot Denzel just because he's an evil bad guy. However, Denzel pulls a gun out of his arse, almost literally, and shoots the knee out of Blake. And therefore wins the day. It turns out that he's got a tiny sort of little pocket sewn in the back of his pants.
This is true, and we find this out because two things happen here. So it's being videoed, and actually Styles being on camera is a running theme through this film. So again, back in the day, young people, before everyone had a smartphone in their pocket, some people who were slightly wealthy had a video camera, and there's a guy at the fair with a video camera, and he has videoed this whole situation. So from nowhere, this 6 months in cop is suddenly
a media star.
And he's the kind of the face of the force. That's when we meet Lindsay Wagner, who is the DA, who goes into the locker room, I think just maybe to see the only thing left that she hadn't seen already.
Everybody else hasn't seen either. She wants to see the whole of Nick Styles.
And then Nick Styles and his partner, played by Kevin Pollak, both get promoted to detective off the back of this. If I stumble at any point during this podcast, it's because I did my notes on my phone, and then it auto syncs. How modern to my computer! But I didn't realise the autocorrect was on. So he's all the way through this. He's called John Lithgow.
That's John Lithgow, I take it.
Yeah. Okay. Starring John Lithgow.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yes. So she promotes him because it's good for the force. It's good PR. And then we get a sort of not quite a montage, but almost where Blake is in prison.
Yeah.
And he is going through his own sort of private hell. To begin with, he's kind of catatonic, and we think he's had a nervous breakdown. But then he starts seeing Styles on television, and that gives him the impetus to basically get up off his hospital bed and get revenge by living and doing well.
Yeah, so he straps War and Peace and a Bible to his leg in quite a ridiculous scene where this kind of mobile librarian thinks that he's found the Lord, but he's actually just got the biggest books to put his foot down. And yeah, I mean it's interesting, and because in many ways this film is from the point of view of the villain. Really, we see probably John Lithgow in more scenes in the first half of the film than we do Denzel, and that it's very much. Lots of films you go, well, there's not really much motivation for the villain. This film may have too much motivation for the villain, because every time I rewatch this, I end up disliking Nick Styles a little bit more because he is so perfect and everything he does is so great. But I guess it's kind of, we'll come on to it, but it kind of sets it up. So again, we see two people that we know very well in these scenes. Keith David is the prison guard.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
And then we see, in a very small part, Jesse Ventura.
Yes. So to begin with, he's Blake's cellmate, and he looks very rough. He's got a tattoo on the middle of his head, and torn off shirt sleeves of his prison jacket. Therefore, that makes him dangerous.
Yep.
Have you noticed they always do that?
It's true.
They either roll up the sleeves or they're just torn off.
It could just be a bit warm, you know. We've all, cut off a pair of jeans to make some nice shorts.
I've not really cut the sleeves off a shirt when I'm too hot, though. Oh, just cut them right off. There we go. Show me guns.
It's like the male version of Daisy Duke.
Really? Yeah. Anyway, so he looks like he's hardcore, except Blake comes into the cell with him and just punches him out or something, doesn't he? And knocks him unconscious.
Knock his head onto
away.
the toilet, I think.
I think so, yeah. So he knocks him out, showing his dominance straight away.
So then you've got two kind of sides of things. We're seeing the Nick Styles' character, in these kind of almost elongated montages, a mixture of newspaper articles and news footage. And so the two of them have become kind of, they say, celebrity cops. They've been followed on the beat. I think Nick is being lined up to be the assistant DA because obviously he's got the police and the legal background. So everything's going great for him. He's grown a moustache.
Yes, as you do when things go well.
We all have. Actually, I've only done it once, and I was with you. Not all the time, but yeah. The one year I did Movember.
You grew a moustache?
Yeah, Movember.
Oh,
do you not remember? We did. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It made you look
the
like
only photos of me
Davis.
the only photos of me with a moustache are with you. But there we are, dancing in a club.
That's
anyway,
right.
Yeah.
I blanked it out. Obviously,
this is why we don't do a video podcast. So he's got a moustache, he's got a big house, and he's married to the woman from the basketball court, and he's got a little baby girl. So basically, everything in the world of Styles is going very well, whereas Blake is still in prison. However, right. So at this point, when I look back on this film until this podcast, I always thought to myself, well, I should recommend this film to more people. It's a really gritty kind of urban thriller. It's very, very kind of true to life and very down to earth. Now, having rewatched the film again, that's a load of nonsense. There's at least 3 scenes in this film which are absurd and ridiculous, and one of them is the one that happens now. So, do you want to explain?
Yeah, I've written on my notes. Here we go. So given that John Lithgow didn't get on well with his cellmate, he's not fitting in, and they want him to sort of get along. I've written, Lithgow fights in prison with book armor.
I've got Blake versus Jesse Ventura in an Aryan 1-on-1. WTF?
So it's all the prisoners are in this basement sort of thing. And with gaffer tape.
There always is, isn't there? In any film with a prison, any action movie with a prison, there's always one level of the prison with no guards.
It's true. It's true. But somehow they don't get
each other or do something.
So they've got these giant books, probably War and Peace again in the Bible, and they've ripped them apart and then gaffer taped them to their bodies as armor, as body armor. And then they've got these 2 big sort of pieces of metal. I mean, they're not even shivs. They're sort of swords almost.
Well, that's the thing, and I think I can just imagine, like, right, Mr. Mulcahy, you've made a film here. We like it. We've seen the edits, and it works really well. But there's not enough of that Highlander stuff. And so, what do you mean? It's like, well, aren't you good with all the swordy stuff? So I imagine they almost shot this afterwards and went, let's make them fight with swords, because it makes no sense. Because John Lithgow's character isn't particularly he kind of is physically menacing, but it's not his physicality that's his
strength,
his thing. So it's like,
maybe it was just a hangover.
I don't believe he could take down Jesse Ventura.
No, maybe it was a hangover though, that he'd come off Highlander and come to this, and then he just thought, we need them to fight with something. Maybe they've got a shiv each. Maybe they're warriors and they're masters of the universe. What if they've got body armor in prison and swords?
Maybe his best friend was the fight coordinator and he promised him another gig.
And maybe one of them cuts the other one's head off because there can be only one. This isn't Highlander, right? What? Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, yes, they fight with book body armor. Honestly, we're not joking. And John Lithgow kills Jesse Ventura. And he stabs him through the chest. So he actually kills him straight through his body.
Yeah, so he sees on... I think one of the things he's stuck to himself is the newspaper article, rather conveniently plot point, with Nick Styles' his moustached face. So he stabs He's not just stabbing Jesse Ventura; he's also stabbing thing.
Styles, yes.
It's an odd scene. I put it, it's all a bit Kingpin, reminding me a bit of Daredevil season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is like, if he's so desperate to get out, because he keeps saying how desperate he is to get out, then I think killing somebody is quite risky.
Yeah.
But then saying that, I don't think he's the full shilling, as they say at the UK.
The full what?
The full shilling.
What's
I'm
that?
just showing my age. He's not quite all there. He's not quite the full shilling.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that.
Okay. More Victorian phrases, kids, in the rest of the show.
Wow. I've never heard of that one.
Okay.
Wow.
Not
Full
the full
shilling. Wow. Anyway, moving on. Back into the 21st century.
A few sandwiches short of a picnic.
I heard that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably know more. I'm not going to carry on.
Okay.
But I like here as well. It's a nice little touch where he not only has killed Jesse Ventura, but he's also grabs the article back so he can keep it for his collection.
Yes, because he's obsessed with Styles. His whole cell is covered with his clippings and news about him. So he's keeping track of his rising career, all of the bits, all of his contacts, which comes in useful later on.
It does. And then again, we start to see kind of how brilliant / successful / annoying Nick Styles is. We see him in a courtroom prosecuting for the first time, and you see, actually, not only is this guy an amazing cop, he's kind of a brilliant lawyer as well. Does a brilliant job with the jury. The only thing I think at this point, and I always think this when I watch the film, and it's maybe just because it's the way I am, is that I always feel sorry for his partner, because he's riding his coattails pretty much the whole film through.
Hey, but it's Kevin Pollak and he's great.
True. That is true. He's great in everything.
He's a key role later on.
He does have a key role later on. So there's talk of him becoming a says he doesn't really want it, but you start feeling as he moves towards being the assistant DA that might happen. And then there's a plot point where the old broken down towers in his kind of the neighborhood he grew up in is going to be turned into a children's center. And again, Blake's watching this in prison. We see Blake's dental records get swapped, which we think is going to happen later. John Amos, that you mentioned, is the priest baptizing the second baby for Styles. So again, another baby. And then we see Blake in kind of the prison copy shop.
Yes.
Photocopying Styles' face many times. Now, again, I don't know much about prison, but but if you're a guard and you see someone putting a picture of the person who sent them away all around their cell, and B, start continually photocopying, I think that might ring alarm bells.
Also, their budget for photocopy must be through the roof.
That's true.
I mean,
10p a sheet.
Yes, 10p a sheet, and it gets charged back to the company. Be like, okay.
In fairness, I think he does double-sided, and I don't think he does colour. And he does the auto-staple button, auto-stapling.
Ah, dear, stationary jokes. Gotta love them. I never thought we'd get to stationary jokes on this podcast.
We're not getting any younger.
Certainly not. And anyone under the age of 38 is probably puzzled as well. So, moving on. Yes, so... Over the
top scene number 2 coming up.
Yes, Nick Styles is setting up this children's centre, and he goes to the worst part of the city, walks in, there's guns, there's drugs everywhere.
Yeah, I've described it very well in here. I've called it the dodgy drug place.
Indeed, there's cocaine, and he goes to see his old chum Odessa / Ice-T, who he's playing basketball with back in the day.
Yes.
And now Odessa is obviously the head of this crime syndicate, and basically Nick Styles tells him, under no uncertain terms, you will stay away from the children's centre.
So basically, there's some great lines here. He kind of talks about, we're from the same place, but I don't see you selling stuff to the kids in Beverly Hills. You're selling people in your own community, so you're keeping things as they are by not, by making things worse in their own area. And he says that the Tower Centre is holy ground, so you mustn't go there. You mustn't, promise me you won't go anywhere near there.
Yeah.
So Odessa kind of goes, well, we're old friends, but nah, that's my business, So again, I've seen this probably in double figures, and every single time I forget what happens next.
Go on.
Because it doesn't make any sense. So Odessa says no, and Styles pulls out a hand grenade.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Thinking about it, I think had some time now to think about this scene. It reminds me of that awful bit in the Batman film with the Tim Burton one with Michael Keaton.
Okay.
So I like that film, most of it. There's that awful scene where the Joker comes to Bruce Wayne's flat and Vicky Vale is there. And then he says, do you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And he gets a poker and, pretends that he's going to go crazy. And then the Joker just shoots him. It's just, it's a little too far and it's too wacky and it's too weird. That's what this is.
If this was Lethal Weapon, I'd buy it. Yep. Because that's... Even Die Hard film, I'd kind of buy it because those kind of characters... But this guy has been presented as... Now, okay, the thing he did at the start was a little bit out there. But it wasn't that out there.
Mm. Not many of us would have Kevin Pollak on your basketball team. That is pretty out there. Is that not what you meant?
No, I meant his little weapon. Hang on.
Hey, little weapon. Maybe that's what they're going to call it. They said, no, we're not doing that. Little weapon 1.
Little weapon 2.
Revenge.
I completely lost my train of thought now.
So he has a hand grenade.
He has a hand grenade, which, again, I say,
threatens to kill everybody.
The perfect cop/DA shouldn't be pulling out a hand grenade.
Or going to drug dens and saying, stay away from it. It's like, hang on. If you're the perfect guy and you know this person's selling drugs, surely you'd work through the courts to stop them selling drugs.
True.
You wouldn't just go, stay away from my area. Anywhere else you sell drugs, that's fine. That makes, no sense.
Yeah. But then he goes back to his partner and we find out it was a lighter all along.
Yes. So
again, younger people, they were very popular. The gun lighter gets used a lot in films around this time, and this is the first use, I think, of the hand grenade lighter.
Yes.
So then it's put right again. So now the man who has pictures of the policeman all over his wall and running up the world's largest Staples account.
And has killed his cellmate.
And is starting to look more and more like Hannibal Lecter.
True.
Is going to meet the parole board.
Yes.
To get early release for good behaviour.
Well, I think it was just an assessment, wasn't it?
I don't know. Well, that's a good point. But I still think there's enough reason to just go, maybe not just yet.
Or maybe they're saying, well, his cell's always very tidy and neat.
That's true.
His cellmate never makes a peep. And
so he's there with his brief, who tells him basically not to say anything. And then they ask him, how will you make a meaningful contribution? I can't remember what he says. I've put here, he says some very terrible things. They must be bad. It's not nice about their families and their kids. And
yes, he basically says he's going to do some nasty stuff to all of them.
And then it's another weird bit here is that because spoiler alert again, they escape, helped by the kind of white supremacists.
Aryan Brotherhood, yes.
But I don't think they're pretending to do this. I think they actually are doing work on the prison. So they've given power tools to these people and let them do work on the prison. It just seems very odd and, again, not very believable. So unsurprisingly, they kill everybody.
Yeah, kill everybody in a parole board, get out the prison, kill some prison guards, steal a prison van and drive off.
No, they steal the bookmobile.
Oh, that's right.
Actually, because they bump into the little old man. He goes, I remember you, young man. And then he shoots him because they were in disguise. And then he drives off in the mobile library. At least it wasn't an ice cream van. That's not
kids
a good
chasing them.
Yeah.
Give us a 99. Give us a 99.
And so this is the third of the crazy, as I put here, Con Air face-off kind of things that they're of this time, but they don't quite work with this film, I don't think. Is
this the thing off the cliff thing?
Not so much. No, well, a little bit. No, just what's just happened. I think the whole power tools, the power tool thing. But yeah, so they kill the white supremacist leader, and then push him off the cliff in the bookmobile.
But first they shoot him in the knee after he's dead. Remember? So
so that his body and
so
the
they set him on
dental
fire.
records and the knee. Yes, that's right.
That's right. So they shot him in the knee, they set him on fire, and then they push him off the cliff in the library van so that anything remains will look like it was Blake because he's got a bad knee, and the dental records that they conveniently switched earlier on will match the white supremacist.
I feel like I'm being really bad at this film, but the next bit is silly too because, okay, so this has happened, and you want Styles to find out because you need to move the story on. Now, up to now, Blake has found out nearly everything from the media. So you maybe think if this had happened, it might have been on the news. But what he's coming out of the court, I think, because he's assistant DA, and a TV reporter who we've seen in a few scenes earlier and who's interviewed him before, just walks up and goes, "Just let you know, Blake Talbot has escaped, but he's dead. The teeth were matching, and there was a bullet in his knee. See you later."
More or less, yeah.
It's like, "Hello, I'm here to give you some exposition. What would you like? How would you like some ketchup with that?" It's very, Anyway.
Move it on.
I hate it when we do. I hate it when we do films that I used to love.
You're leading there on your score, Pete.
Only slightly.
Okay. So he appears to be dead, except we know he's not. And Denzel's walking past a homeless man who asks him some money, and he gives him some money and walks off. And then he stands up straight and pulls back his hood, and it's Blake.
Yes, even though he sounded like Nick Nolte when he asked for the money.
It's true, actually.
That's it. That's exactly that. That's Nick Nolte or a slightly annoyed dog.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's nearly telethon time. So they start organising this telethon to raise money for the Towers Community Centre. They're going to do it at his father's church. It's all kind of PR for him, really, because we feel he is headed towards being a DA at some point. He's in an, I can't remember where he is, but he gets a bit flirty with the waitress, doesn't he, at the kind of launch event? So you start to see a kind of slightly different side of him. But through the wall, Blake is taping what he's saying.
It's at some sort of restaurant they go to first, and he talks through with the DA and some other people and says, "Look, we'll do this fundraiser soon. It'll help us in the community." And Blake's recorded a conversation for some reason, which I didn't know why until later.
No, not yet.
Then there's the actual telethon itself, which is at the dad's church one evening. The girls are being babysit. Him and his wife are there. His dad's there. It's all on television.
This is a creepy section. This works, I think, really well because up to now, although Blake is frightening, it's a bit at arm's length, and you don't really get the sense of how scary he can be. But so he comes around, doesn't he? He cuts the power. And then he turns up himself as the electrician.
As the power and lighting guy, and says, "Oh, hello. Yes, I got the call. Are you having a problem? Oh, right. Can I come in?" And he's wearing the uniform, and he's got the right equipment, and he's got the hard hat, and he comes in, and then he sits down and has a conversation with the girls, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, and the babysitter too, and it's very disturbing. And we should have mentioned that Blake's got a weird eye. One of his eyes is kind of slightly milky in colour. No, it's not blind, but it's sort of it's like a bit paler than the other one. And one of the girls mentions it, and the baby's just like, "Oh no, you shouldn't say that." And you're thinking, he's just going to kill them. He's going to kill all of them. But he plays along. He's really nice. He's like, "Oh, no, it's okay. It's my magic eye. I can see things." I'm thinking, okay, this has actually gone from laughable to quite disturbing now. Yeah. It's really creepy. And then he puts something in the babysitter's drink.
Yep, so she's fallen asleep. Yeah, it's interesting as well because at the same time, the telethon gets a big 10 grand donation, which I think puts them over the edge. But he sent that, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah. So it's kind of fascinating. So then we see the babysitter asleep on the settee. We see the kids Or do we see the kids?
Blake picks them up and says, "Off to bed, girls," and he carries them both up and puts them and tucks them in bed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's proper creepy.
Yeah. And then... didn't he put a message with the money that's like, this is the money to say thank you for everything you've done for me or something? It's quite a clever kind of double meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Styles get home. The house is in darkness. So it's like, that's strange. Mm-hmm. And then, put the lights on. Babysitter, you're asleep. What's happening? And she's like, why are you home so early? It's not early. And then they go flying upstairs, and you are like, your heart is in your mouth at this stage. And then they open the bedroom, and both the kids are asleep.
Yeah, both girls are absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with them.
Which I think in a way is kind of scarier. It's almost like, look how easy it was for me to get in your house. It's
true. It's pretty disturbing.
So then Ferris, who is he the assistant DA? I think he is. But he's his friend, and they're kind of he's working on the telethon with him. He's paying the telethon money in, and Blake and his younger accomplice, who we haven't really mentioned actually, but he's got a younger accomplice, and they...
Jesse, is it? Jesse or something like that?
Who kind of hero worships him, and was with him when the job happened, and then was in the same prison place as him. So they grab Ferris, and then the next morning the cleaner comes in and finds him seemingly having hung himself while wearing a leather mask.
Yeah, he's gone for a bit of SMN and it's gone too far.
Yeah, and there's child pornography in his briefcase, and his suicide note says, "I'll never forgive myself for what we did to those kids." So this is the start of Styles being framed and his kind of perfect life being unpicked.
Just completely dismantled by Blake.
Yeah, the pledge cards are there, and the 10 grand, shock horror, that exact 10 grand is missing. And the forensics verify everything. Styles says straight away he thinks it's a setup because he's his friend. And then it's all about kind of damage limitation.
Yes, they're trying to say that, there's nothing wrong. Ferris wasn't dodgy. This obviously is Beframe job. It just seems too perfect. Yep. They're trying to keep it quiet. So he spends the whole day in meetings and this sort of stuff. And then
things
gets home, doesn't he?
Yes, and then things ramp up.
Yes, massively. So he goes home after an awful day. His partner drops him off. Paul Axel says, don't worry, we'll sort this out. We'll get to the bottom. And he goes, thanks, man. And he drives off. And then another car pulls up.
Yep.
And somebody gets out. And it's Blake.
Yep.
So he's revealed himself to Styles in front of him at his home. He's revealed that he's alive. And he kidnaps him. I think does he knock him out or taser him?
Yeah, they knock him out, and then they take him. He wakes up somewhere, and he's arm wrestling him.
That's right. He's tied to a chair or something. Right. And then he says, arm wrestle me, and if you win, I'll let you go, doesn't he?
And he starts arm wrestling him, but all they've done it for is to get him to tense his arm and expose a vein, which I think is really clever. So as he's in that situation, the young accomplice injects speedball straight into his arm.
Some drugs that send Styles off his head, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know where he is.
Blake at this point keeps saying that Styles should give him more credit because he's the catalyst. If it wasn't for him, Styles wouldn't have this amazing career, which in a perverse way is kind of true. And then you realise they're in a drained swimming pool.
Yes, and then there's a really odd scene which works later on, but you find out why. But he keeps giving Styles drugs, and so he doesn't know what day it is or where he is.
No.
And you can see that he's trying to fight it, but he can't really do much about it because he's so badly drugged. And then Styles is on the bed, and Blake brings a prostitute in for him.
Wanda.
Wanda.
She comes in, climbs on top of him, and then they video it. And as they're videoing it, they're playing the comments he made to the waitress.
Yes, when he was basically flirting and saying things. So it's all looking very, very bad for Nick. And also the wife, at this point, he's been missing for hours. They they don't know what's wrong. They're trying to find him. Yeah, and they're worried about him.
And then I think he says to Blake, just kill me, just get it over with and kill me. And he's like, I'm not going to kill you. This is going to be far worse than killing you. I'm going to make sure that you live.
Yes.
And then then I love these bits now. They dump him with some local homeless people, so he's found there.
He's just sleeping rough on the street.
And he's telling his wife and his colleagues that Blake did this to me, Blake did this to me. And they're all like, well, Blake is dead. You've been missing. You know, your mate is in all sorts of trouble. Well, I'm dead. Hang on a second. Like this, none of this, you know, we don't believe you. So it's very quickly, but believably so, I think, though, gone from him being kind of golden boy and can do no wrong. But we didn't really know, I put a note earlier, actually, we didn't get to know Styles at all, really, until now. You didn't really, for the lead character, you know very little about him as a person. But anyway, so he says, look, I know where it was. There were 2 dolphins on the wall. And I think I remember the hotel where that is. So let's just go there now. In fact, let's take a news crew with us. And go there now. And then I can be exonerated.
Mm-hmm.
And he's back into charm. He's back into his charm mode then. Like, you know, I can sort out anything. They get there, they open the door to the pool, and
there's a team of old ladies doing
aquarobics.
Yes, the pool is full, and they're exercising, and he doesn't know how to explain the fact that that's where he was being held, and it was all true.
Now, it looks like he's
mad,
losing it, or he's trying to cover something up. And then he goes home, and then again, he's suddenly got a temper. He's got a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. He treads on his kids' crayons and then shouts at them. And then I put a note here, why are his toddlers watching the news? Because they're like 2 and 3. And they're sat watching like the evening news, which has got a guy who tried to kill them. And then later, like him, when the footage gets seen, and it's like, you know, I've got a 9-year-old and we keep her away from the news wherever possible. I just think, anyway, I know it's not real, but it just seems a very strange.
But it seems so real.
It does. So then Priscilla, not the Queen of the Desert, but the DA, played by Lindsay Wagner, rings him, and it's like, you know, the blood test showed you had cocaine and heroin. He's, I know, they gave me. And you got the clap.
Yes, and right as they're saying that, he hasn't told his wife, of course, that he'd been forced to have sex with a prostitute. There's some disturbing footage that's been released to the media, and on the news, suddenly, you've got Nick having sex with the prostitute on the television. His wife sees it, his kids see it, and you've got the voiceover with him saying how he's going to take tons of money and blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff that Blake has cleverly spliced in.
Yeah, but how he did that as well, because the DA basically thinks that Nick is lying. She's like, "Oh, you're such a lawyer," because she just thinks that he's, you know, playing away from home, and that's that. And Blake is bugging the house, isn't he? So when he went in to do the fake thingy, he bugged the house. But how the video is found. Do you remember? There's the videotape of the kids.
Yes. So. There's a video in, isn't there? Hang on, I'm trying to remember what happens.
Styles wakes up, I think, goes downstairs, and there's a video playing already in his living room, and it's a video of. Oh no,
that's what it was. So he's had his argument with his wife and all the rest of it, and she doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
Yes, he goes he keeps drinking, and he phones in like a talk show at night drunk, trying to defend himself, but they don't know it's him. So he sleeps on the couch, and when he wakes up in the morning, the house is empty, the kids are out, the wife is out, and there's a video cassette that in the video player that just says "Play Me."
Yep, that's right.
That's all it says, and you're thinking, hang on. So Blake has been in whilst he's been asleep and put this here. So he plays it, and it shows the video footage from earlier that we didn't see of Blake in the house with the girls standing over their beds with a knife. An axe. Is that
it's an axe. It's this film. It had to be an axe. So he flies upstairs, obviously in a state, but they're not there. But he doesn't know where they've gone. His wife has taken them. He sees a note. The wife's taken the kids to a dress rehearsal for a school play.
The park. Yes.
So he runs there in his underwear with his pistol because he's big on underwear.
And we should say that's a gun, not his pistol.
Obviously, nice kind of throwback to the start. He was a hero in his pants with a gun. Now he's just a bit of
a maniac in a dressing gown with a gun.
Yeah. And while he's on his way there, the young accomplice Jesse goes back in the house and switches the tape. So the tape of Blake doing with the axe is gone, and another tape is there. So he goes there and he sees a guy going onto stage dressed as a clown.
Yes.
Goes to shoot him and then takes him down. But again, I quite like this because one of the parents is videoing the dress rehearsal. So at the start, it was the video kind of that made him.
The hero that made him.
And now it's the video that kind of shames him, really. So everyone thinks he's lost it. He's like, it's okay, I've got this video. So he takes the video to the DA and says, look, watch this. This will just explain. Look, it is Blake. You'll see it's Blake. Oh, no, it's you having sex with a lady.
Well, it's quite clever, though, the fact that whilst he was out, they snuck in and swapped the tapes again. It's just every bit of evidence he has, he presents. The swimming pool, no, it's full. People are swimming in it. The fact he had drugs in his system, well, I think he just went on a bender.
Yeah.
The clap, well, he just had sex with a prostitute. Blake's dead. He isn't. Yes, he is. And it's very good.
I think that's one of the reasons I've always had, particularly when I first saw it, really like this film, is because they build this guy up across the film and then he's unpicked very quickly, but it's really believable. Yeah.
It's just like, it looks like he's had a meltdown, that his friend has died and they got caught doing something and he's just gone on a meltdown. So they have to suspend Nick now. He's suspended from his job and the golden boy is no more. That's it. Seems to
they
be
want him to see a psychiatrist. And then Larry, Kevin Pollak's character, gets to take over now because, again, this is a film where the protagonist doesn't drive the story really at all because all this stuff is done to him, and in fact he doesn't even sort it in a way because Larry goes to prison, they go for all Blake's stuff, and that's when they
find something. They find that the other guy who went missing from the Aryan Brotherhood was going, he had some tickets, but there was 3 tickets for him and 2 others apparently to go out of the country. So Styles and his partner go to this bookstore to find out what's going on and to try and prove that Blake is still alive. And whilst they're there, Blake turns up and kills poor Larry.
Oh yeah.
But here's the twist: he then throws the gun at Nick, who then grabs it, of course. But oh look, it's Nick's own gun, and now it's got his fingerprints all over it. And Blake takes off his gloves and goes ta-ta, essentially. And runs off, and it's just so well done. So now it looks like.
And again, he sat with his kids then watching the news later, and shouting at them again, and that's when they see the killing happen, and then he smashes the TV. I suggest just turning it over.
So he basically runs to avoid the police because at this point he looks guilty.
So he. You've got to trust me. You love me. You read Moby Dick. I was playing basketball. Come on, let's go. Just trust me, there are kids, whatever. I'm taking you somewhere safer than with the police. So they take them to Odessa.
Because he knows the police are going to come for him soon. They're going to blame him for killing his partner and everything else, and he does look very guilty.
He does. This is true. And again, kind of how's he get out of this? So, Odessa's agreed that he'll, guard them with your life, and he will because, he's his friend. Then I've
not really sure why, but
Well, I think. Well, they grew up together, and it's his kid. I don't,
it's a plot point. Come on.
Well, no, I feel I buy that. I do buy that. I've got here. Sex club playing Killer by Adamski.
Oh, I've written Blake and his young chum go to a sex club and watch television. Because that's what you do when you go to a sex club.
This is possibly the film where the characters watch television the most of any film I think I've ever seen. Although it used to be quite a cool thing to do. I remember somebody at university having a watch where you could change channels on TV. So you'd go into clubs that had TV on and he'd change all the TV channels. There's a little party trick.
Wow.
Tell girls he was doing it with his mind.
Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so the kid is bragging about what they've done.
How is his career as a magician these days?
I don't know. I'm assuming he's in prison.
Is he wearing book armor and fighting?
I think so. Yes, I think so.
What they do these days, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. I've thrown you off track now. So he's watching television in a porn club.
And that's right. So they start watching the news, as you do. Yeah. And on that, he sees... Oh, hang on.
Nick has a meltdown.
Nick hasn't been arrested. He wasn't in the house when the police went there, and he hasn't been arrested. It's like, well, hang on, that's the end. Once he gets arrested, we've swapped places. It's done. And actually, he's not. He's up on the roof of the house, threatening to jump.
He's essentially having a meltdown. He's doing that. He's doing that awful. Oh, I'm crazy. I'm wacky. I've lost it. Oh, look at me.
But he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
It is suitably over the top, but it works because Blake is like, well, if he jumps, I lose. This isn't it. This isn't right. Well, he's ramped up his level of crazy, parodying his smug, attention-seeking side. He starts putting lipstick on himself.
Yeah, which is really weird. I just thought he had some chapped lips, but nope, it's lipstick. Okay. Yeah.
And so Blake goes to the house and is kind of hiding. Well, he's not really hiding, but he's kind of there trying to see. Well,
the media are there. He's all on top. He's on top of this building, though. It's not his house. No. It's some.
Is it? Oh, is it the? No, he's not there yet.
Is it Odessa's building or somewhere?
No, he's not there yet. He starts off on his house because they went to his house to arrest him, and he climbed up on the roof of the house, I think. And then he goes off to the tower.
No, because they think he's going to kill himself because he's on top of this building, and he says, "I'm going to kill myself. I've got these." He's got like
I've got this inflammable lipstick.
Something. Well, yeah, he's got something in his hands. It's not lighter fluid. It's something. I can't remember what it is now.
But he's got a flare.
That's right, and the media's filming it. Everyone's watching, and Blake's going, "No,
I know
no,
you're right.
Don't."
Sorry, he is on the roof of the crack den.
Yes, and he said, "I'm going to kill myself," and everybody, and then that'll be it. And Blake's there going, "No, don't," because it'll be the end of the story, and he wants him to suffer.
And it's quite nice parallels to earlier because Odessa's men suddenly grab the kid, the Jesse. So he's grabbed, and then
Nick does his amazing escape.
Well, he drops a flare into the crack. I've put here into the crack place. Good. Right.
He's a crack den. But then he jumps down a magic tube.
He does. Oh my god, he's jumped. But he's gone down a fire slide.
Yes, so that the whole building seems to explode just where he is, and as far as everyone's watching, he's just gone mental and killed himself and blown up the building.
Yep.
And Blake can't believe it, except that then he gets a call from someone.
He's going crazy. Like, this can't be happening. It's a phone call. It's Odessa.
So telling him where to go to meet Styles. And that's when he goes to what is going to be the children's centre, and this building is half finished.
Yes, it's Kim, not Jesse, isn't it? His name's Kim.
Kim.
Yeah, and they've tied him up
to the front of the building.
Yeah.
Just sort of left him there.
And I think Blake says something about what's going on. I think one of Odessa's men or Odessa says, "You've pissed him off, and now you're fucked."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, the kid says it, doesn't he? He says, "You've pissed him off, we're fucked now," and he suddenly goes from hero worship to actually not. No. So Blake shoots Kim, the kid.
Yeah, just kills him like he's sick of all his whining.
And they're pushing all his buttons, and they've kind of echoey voices everywhere, kind of laughing at him, and the police are on their way.
Mm-hmm. So he's unravelled after everything Blake's done. He's now unravelled his plan. Everyone thinks he's dead, but it doesn't matter. He's escaped, and he's not going to go to prison. He said, "I'm not going to go to prison now." That was his end goal, and he's foiled his plan at the last minute.
So Odessa's men keep the police at bay, and then they deliberately let the TV cameras in.
Yes. So Blake goes after him to basically killing himself because he can't stand him, and he's just unravelled his plans.
And he stabs him in the arm.
Well, we've got this great sort of scene where they're climbing up the building together, this sort of scaffolding thing, and they're fighting, and then you get the chopper with the light on them both, and the film cameras are watching, and he's saying, "This is what you wanted. You wanted your moment in the sun. You wanted to be on television like me."
And you've got the police and TV helicopters going, "It's Blake, it's Blake." So he's now, definitely been revealed, which I'm not sure it really adds credence to what Styles has been saying, but I guess it kind of does.
A little bit.
Well, it does. That part.
Yes, he still took drugs and still slept with a prostitute and still may have not been in a pool. Maybe he was just doing aquafit and dozed off, and that's why I can't remember.
Maybe he's allergic to the memory of water.
Maybe it's the chlorine in the water that made him lose his mind.
Got the percentages slightly wrong.
He blacked out. Woke up in the street. So they have a big fight
They do.
on this tower. Lots of punching and kicking
Some
and
action.
Stabbing. Is there a gun, or has he got rid of the gun by this point?
Styles is hanging off the building by this point because he's been stabbed. And again, he falls. Another fake fall, really. But he's actually on a safety harness.
Yes. And so they have a big old scrap. But Blake's lost it at this point. He's gone absolutely mental. He's almost like, he's just fuming. He's absolutely lost it because everything he's done has been torn apart.
He's still, he hasn't had the last laugh. So he's the only person on this metallic building at this point because Styles is kind of swinging away on a safety harness, and then Odessa does what all good police would ask you to do.
Yep.
He electrifies the whole building.
Yes, and electrocutes Blake, who then falls off the building
onto a massive metal spike, and then they give Styles a line that he must have had left over from Commando or something. He goes, "You got the point now, don't you, Blake?" Which I think, considering what he's been through, I don't know. And I've put here, how the hell does he prove that any of this actually happened? And then they agree to play basketball again. And then he tells the TV cameras to kiss his ass and puts his hand up to cover it up, and it ends.
Yes, so really. It's a bit of a twist from the beginning, of course, where he was the star of the camera. They loved him. It made him. It almost seemed like he put that first in his career and everything, and now he's basically said, no, I'm with my family. They're the most important thing. And
but he still used the media to kind of
help him
at the end.
Yeah.
Then Ice-T raps the title end song.
Oh, I didn't stay around for that. I turned it off.
I think it went something like Ricochet, something like that. Not sure.
Wow.
I don't know.
Complex rhymes.
No, I like Ice-T. I'm going to take it back. I like Ice-T. He's good.
He's good in Law and Order.
He was good
CSI.
in New Jack City. New Jack City, him and Wesley Snipes.
Is it Law and Order he was in?
Yeah, I think he still is.
He is.
He was in a film called Trespass that I quite liked. And he's in a film that I want us to do an episode on at some point. Surviving the Game.
I've never heard of that one.
It's like a poor man's Hard Target.
Oh.
With him, Gary Busey, Rutger Hauer,
wow.
John C. McGinley, and F. Murray Abraham.
Hang on. Wow, he's been in hundreds of Law and Order special victims.
Yeah,
I'm not saying hundreds as in a lot. No, he's been in hundreds of episodes.
He's the main guy, I think, isn't he?
Wow, all the way back to 2000, like 16 years of Law and Order. That's crazy.
Oh God, New Jack City, Johnny Mnemonic, and Tank Girl. He was in.
Johnny Mnemonic.
I can't say that. I can say Tank. I can say Tank Girl. He was in Tank Girl.
The Tank Girl. Okay, yeah. Wow, I didn't realise he'd done that many. It's still going now. Wow. Anyway.
How many? Gosh, yeah, a lot. Hundreds.
Anyway. So, yes, he's... and that's it. That's the end of the film. How long was it? It felt like a long film when I was watching it, but I don't think it was. It was nearly 2 hours. Yeah, no, I just meant that some of the old action films can be 2.5 hours, some could be 90 minutes. So this was 1 hour 42. So there was a lot going on, though, to be fair. There was a lot of twists and turns.
Yeah.
We've skimmed through the film in less time, the film, which is remarkable for us. Normally we do twice as long.
It has nothing to do with us recording this once already and it being lost. Nothing to do with that at all.
And failing to do it the first time. So this is the third time for us doing this podcast. It's nothing to do with that at all.
That's because it ricochets. This episode keeps ricocheting back.
No, we're done.
No, okay. So next month is coming to America.
What? That's Christmas. Next month. Shall I say what it is? We'll do it at the end.
Let's do it then. Let's do the scores and then let's discuss next month.
Right.
Get to the chopper! Shut up, you idiots! It's time to give a score! Do it! Do it now!
Shall I go first?
Yes.
Normally I insist that you go first, usually.
That's true. That's because you're mean.
Ooh, wow. It's become a thing. Right, I'll go first.
Okay.
How about that?
Fine.
So I'd not seen this film before. I thought Denzel Washington was all right. He wasn't great. I actually think John Lithgow was brilliant. He was disturbing, and there were some scenes where he was ridiculously over the top, but that was, he was doing his best with the material. There was stuff where he was truly menacing with the scenes with Styles' daughters, and you really didn't know what he was going to do. His plan was actually quite clever in that, as far as everyone else knew, he was dead, and a phantom was tormenting Styles, saying, "Oh yes, he did this and he did that." Like, well, he's dead. He's blatantly not doing it, and so he took apart everything quite well. And to begin with, I thought this was going to be quite a cheesy, very basic revenge film, but it surprised me in the way that John Lithgow's character was quite clever, despite some of the ridiculous scenes, book armor and so on. So I quite enjoyed it. For all of its flaws, for all of its ridiculousness, I quite liked it. So I'm going to give it 3 backs.
Okay.
Triple 3.
So in complete contrast to you, I've seen this film many times before. Always really liked it mainly for the reasons that you said. It didn't do what I expected it to do, particularly on first watch. Again, back in 1991, it was very different than other films because it was a little bit cleverer, more to it. The villain was better. I mean, at the time, I remember loving this performance by John Lithgow. And then, have you seen a film called Raising Cain?
I think so, but it's been a long time.
Brian De Palma film. It came out the year later, and Lithgow was kind of carving out this, at the time, thing being a villain, but just doing it really, really well. And I guess it's funny enough, I was talking to somebody the other day about how, making sure that the antagonist has got motivation and you understand what they're doing and why. And in this film, although obviously you don't agree with what he's doing, it's very, very clear why he's doing what he did. And you can almost empathize with him. Almost. You can look at it and go, well, you can imagine how annoyed and upset he would be, at least. But yeah, again, every time I watch it, I think I notice more how Denzel Washington's character is kind of surface, but that's mainly because you're seeing him, which I think maybe it's clever, maybe it's really clever that you're seeing him as this kind of surface glossy person, because you're always seeing him from kind of Blake's perspective, and you don't really get to know him until he's brought down to earth. Maybe. So yeah, I think there was a time when I would have given this a higher score, just because this was one of the films is my kind of go-to films as being, a really good example of films at the time. But I'm actually going to agree with you, and I'm also going to give it 3 bags. I think it's a very solid action thriller.
Yeah, it's flawed. There's problems with it, some ridiculous cheesy scenes, which you've highlighted. But it was, as you said, it was a step up from the usual. He's a bad guy. Why? Well, he just does bad things because there was a genuine, real grudge for why he turned his criminal career in completely the opposite way, and whilst rising high by contrast. So yeah, a solid film, I would say. So that's part one of our Denzelology.
I've got no idea what we're going to do for part. Well, I know what I'd like to do for part 3, but you won't let us. So for part 2,
what's part 3?
Well, you won't let us. I've mentioned it, and you said you didn't want to watch it.
What was it?
Man on Fire.
Oh, I've seen that.
I've seen that.
It's not very good.
It is good.
Spoiled it.
That's the world's shortest episode. It's not very good. Yes, it is. The end. I really like that film. It's Tony Scott. Come on.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't like it.
Oh, well, watch it again, and you can tell everyone why you didn't like it. There's a premise to the show, Steve. Maybe this escaped you.
After 30 odd episodes, I don't get it.
Yeah. Anyway, the next one I haven't seen, and you've seen, I believe.
Yes. So this is a modern film.
Yes, and a kind of reboot of something that I know that Steve and I both absolutely loved when it was a TV show.
So this is the 2014 film, The Equalizer. Yes, so we both loved the original show with Edward Woodward from the 90s. Late 80s, actually. Early 90s.
It was the show that people in school had stayed up to watch, and I wasn't allowed. So I complained to my dad that I had nothing to talk to everyone about in school, so he let me watch it.
Oh, well, damn right. Yeah. So the show ran from 85 to 89. That's how old it was. I was not very old. I was far too young.
You were far too young. I can see how I could talk him round. I was about 11 or 12, but you.
Nope,
goodness me, you're watching it in the womb.
Almost. So it's directed by. I always pronounce it like this. I don't know if it's right.
I don't even know who. Did Training Day.
And he's also just done The Magnificent Seven, also starring Denzel Washington, which is a great film. Spoilers, it's a great film. And this is me not really liking...
he did Southpaw, which I really like. Mm-hmm. Olympus Has Fallen, which I haven't seen.
I've not seen that either, actually. That's full of action, isn't it?
It is. And they're about to make a third one, so maybe we should bring that in.
I haven't seen any of them, the Fallen ones.
No, I haven't. Tears of the Sun, that's a good film as well. Bruce Willis.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, that one, though, yeah.
Replacement Killers with Chow Yun-fat. Okay.
So, yeah, Antoine Fuqua's done some really good films. Did he do Miami Vice? I have a feeling. That was... someone else. Anyway.
Michael Mann.
That's it, Michael Mann.
Who also created the TV show, so it was full circle, I think.
Circle of life. So... Does The Lion King count as Bags of Action?
No. I don't. If you won't do Man on Fire, I'm not letting you say, "Oh yes, let's watch The Lion King."
A Disney triple.
Bags of Disney.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, The Equalizer. This is about a man who steps out of the shadows from his old life. He's trying to live a very, very quiet life, but he gets into trouble once more and he really shouldn't. And chaos and violence ensues with lots and lots of action. I'm not kidding. In this film, there is a lot of action. The story, true, to be fair, but there's a lot going on.
I've thought of a different film for the third one.
Ooh, save it. Teasers.
I will. I'll wait till the next episode. But it's one I've seen. I don't think you've seen this. And yeah, I think you should see it. So.
Ooh, exciting.
Are you still called Robert McCall?
He is, which is probably one of the few ties to the TV series.
Have you? I guess now you can share your idea for a reboot of The Equalizer, because I guess it's not going to happen.
No, never going to happen. So my idea was that instead of continuing it with someone else, like, oh, he's got a miraculous daughter, it's like, no, he hasn't. He had a son who was played by the kid from Karate Kid. What was he called? The actor from Karate Kid.
In this or the original one?
No, the original one.
Oh, Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, he's his son in the TV series.
Was he?
So, I think so. Oh. I said that and now I have to go and check it. Anyway, my idea for the reboot was you continue it with Robert McCall retiring and the Mickey character, who's played by Keith Sarabica, taking over.
Who I hadn't seen for years, and then he was in the Nolan Batman films.
And before that, he was in the TV series Angel from Joss Whedon.
I've never seen Angel. I've only seen 2 episodes of Buffy.
Oh, Pete. So, yes, that was my idea and would have worked because, ironically, Keith Sarabica ended up being about the same age that Edward Woodward was when the TV show was made the first time around.
I think when you told me that idea first, if I remember serves me correctly, I applauded you.
Did he stand up?
I think I did stand up and say, "Yeah, that's it. Yep."
Yeah. Well done. Anyway, they did that. So they did not do that. Then a film remake with Denzel Washington. So
yes, if you haven't seen it, see it.
So, have you seen Ricochet? Do you think it's the best film ever? Did you not like it? Why not? Did it freak you out? What do you think of John Lithgow? And do you like Denzel Washington? And if not, why not? Come on, why not?
Please go on to our Facebook page and our Twitter page and tell Steve why he's an idiot for not liking Man on Fire.
Email us bagsofaction@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter @bagsofaction, and so on. that's all we've got time
That's
for,
it.
folks.
Yes.
That's all, folks.
Farewell.
I was doing my that's Looney Tunes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Good night.
Right.
You have been listening to Bags of Action. No bullshit. You'd better stick around for the next episode, because if you're lying, I'll be back.